Hi there. So I'm now continuing with the analysis of the transmission that was uploaded at the time of the 11/11, entitled Crystalline Samhain 11/11 Stargate, November 11th, 2019. So this is part 2, and I finished the last analysis in the middle of a paragraph. So I was just speaking about the multiple portals, the sine wave, rainbow wave fields, particles of light or cosmic ray dust raining down upon them or flooding them from within. And that is talking about the individuals that speak of this. There are those that speak of these portals and explain what these portals are. There are those that talk about these portals because they feel them. So continuing with that paragraph, and they see and feel these particles and waves rain down upon or flood the entire planetary system and beyond. So let's just go with that little bit there. So these individuals that are talking about the portals, talking about the sine wave, rainbow wave, particles of light, they're talking about them. So one of those individuals be me, and other individuals like me, and it doesn't have to be an individual who's up on YouTube, speaking to a camera. It could be someone who talks about this to their friends, but they're feeling this energy. They are taking part in the unification with this energy. So they see and feel these particles and waves rain down upon or flood the entire planetary system and beyond. So when they feel these portal energies, and they're aware of this culmination or energy spike within this portal, they can see, some of them see the energy. They see the energy as particles and waves. Others may feel the energy, or they may see and feel the energy. Now, when the nine are saying see, this might mean that they physically see particles of light and energy waves, or it might be that they're seeing the energy clairvoyantly. For me personally, I have literally seen energy with my physical eyes, these particles I'm talking about, but this doesn't happen very often. It does happen, but not that often. More often I see these particles energetically, as in clairvoyantly. So it can be both. And feel these particles, well, anyone who is open and is sensitive or empathic will feel these particles and waves. And they may not feel them as a particle or a wave. They might not say, oh, I feel a wave rushing through me, I feel particles raining down upon me and flooding me. They might just say, oh, I feel amazing, or I feel something is happening, or I feel something big is going on, or it could manifest in a myriad of ways within an individual who's feeling this. But there are those who do feel this energy as if it were particles and waves raining down upon them or flooding the entire planetary system and beyond. So these individuals are aware that the energy of these portals and the light particles and waves that are created from these portals, they're aware that they're raining down upon and flooding the entire planetary system. They're aware that they're falling down and engulfing all of Earth and beyond. So they realize and are aware that this is a cosmic energy and moves into planets beyond Earth, and indeed all of humanity. They are aware that every individual on this planet is being engulfed with these particles coming in from these portals, or these cosmic core points, whichever way you want to describe what these are. They see receiving these information particles. So let's just break that down. They see receiving these information particles. So the nine have now switched to explain that these particles are information particles. So what does that mean? Well, if you go back to part 1, I was talking about this is all about activating memory. So that's what an information particle is. It is a memory activation. But when I say memory, it doesn't mean that which went before. Memory is the way we perceive this information, as in, I remember being another individual in another incarnation, in another timeline. I remember living on another planet. I remember being source in the cosmos. I remember being the divine creator and creating all and everything. We see it as a memory. We see it as something that's happened because we live in a linear reality. But in truth, it is happening now. So the memory is simply information of what is happening now. The memory of you living in another reality as another incarnation in another timeline is occurring now. The memory of you living on another planet is occurring now. And the memory of you being source and being the ultimate creator and creating everything is happening now, because there is no linear time outside of the linear time you experience here in the physical reality. So these are information particles, because they are memory activators. Once your memory is activated, you access information. But there's another way of looking at that. It's not just a trigger to your own memory. It's not as if it's a little trigger that comes in and, oh, I've received this particle, it's triggered memory. The particle itself is an information package on its own, without you. Even if you don't receive it, it's a living thing. That's because memory is a living thing. It's a structure, it's a consciousness. So the information particle is a living being merging with you. And that's another way of looking at it. These information particles of solar plasmic light. So the nine are explaining here that the particles are made of solar plasmic light. So they've given us yet another clue as to what these particles are. Solar, so they're coming in from the sun. They're made from substances from the sun. Plasmic, meaning they are made of plasma. So these are information particles. These are living beings that are packages of information in their own right, packages of intelligence that are also memory triggers, but they're also made of solar material and they're made of plasma. That doesn't mean they're made of the same plasma as a television screen or a computer screen that you might be looking at. Plasma presents in a myriad of ways, and it can be very crude and used to create something on a physical level. It can also be liquid. It can also be liquid light, so it's completely invisible to the naked eye. It can also be within fire, within the substance that you will find in clouds and rainbows and different configurations within the sky. It can be used for the most ultimate healing, and it can be used for destruction. It's a substance that can be molded. It's a substance that copies itself and what it's around, depending on who is utilizing it. So it's something that isn't understood on this planet in a physical sense, with all the scientists and physicists and biologists and that we have, chemists. It's not understood in its fullest sense. It's only understood in a very minor, partial sense. It is the individuals who feel these information particles at the times of these amazing portals. They're the individuals who are understanding what plasma is. And plasma isn't even really a word that explains it, because it's a living being. That's why the nine is saying solar plasmic, because it's from the sun. It is a living intelligence that's made of plasma from the sun. So one could also refer to this as a plasma being, or a solar being, or an extraterrestrial or ultra-dimensional that's made of solar plasmic light that lives in the central sun or in the physical sun. All of these things are true. So indeed all of humanity. So these particles and waves are raining down upon all of humanity, and these individuals talking about the particles and the portals can actually see and feel that this is happening. They see receiving these information particles of solar plasmic light, and indeed they are correct in all that they see and all that they say. So that's yet another clue here as to what is going on. These individuals that talk about these portals are correct in all that they see. So however they're perceiving the information particles, the particles of light, the plasma waves, and the portal opportunities, the DNA activations, and everything that's occurring at the same time, they are correct in how they perceive that for their own individualized reality. And that explanation and that teaching can be given to others because it will be so similar to the reality being experienced by others. So they're correct in all that they see and all that they say. And that's a difficult one, because you might hear one individual who's experiencing the energy of these portals say one thing, and another individual say something completely different that is actually totally contradictory. They're both correct within their own individual reality timeline. And all that matters to you is what is right for your individualized reality timeline. That is that which you use to create. That's your creational material. That is right for you and for your individual reality timeline. So you make a choice. You take that plasma energy and you mold it. And that's what you're doing when you are working with manifestation and creation. You are using plasma, you are using liquid light, or it even moves beyond liquid. You are using a non-physical substance that is called photonic light. So that's what you're using to see with, to access information, access memory, and then you are using it to create with, because it is an energy, it's a substance that you can mold and that you can make copies of. And you do this through your emotions, your thoughts, your actions, and your visualizations, and everything that is radiating from all of you. So anyone talking about these portals and how they're being experienced and the particles, they are right in all they see and right in all they say, or correct in all they see. So the 9 then go on to say, and yet you may hear from another that these portals, gateways, waves, and light streams, so let's just stop there. You may hear from another individual about portals. We've discussed what portals are. Gateways, that's the first time the 9 have mentioned gateways in this transmission, I believe. So that's the same thing as a portal. Portals give you the clairvoyant imagery, which in itself is an activation. Everything you see within the mind's eye, within the imagination fields, is potentially that which you use to create. And it is a code that is understood by the cellular aspect of your body. So when you say portal, you may visualize an opening of light, or shimmering colour, or shimmering plasma that you can move through, if you like. A gateway, you might actually see a gate, a wooden gate, or a metal gate, or an iron gate, or you might just see something that shows you're moving from one state to another. It depends where your mind is within the imagery given. And the reason why the 9 repeat themselves so much in these transmissions, and why they use different words to explain the same thing, is so that the visualizations created from the words are given to you in as much of a expanded state as possible, because if somebody doesn't get portal, gateway, or wave, they might get light stream. If they don't get light stream, gateway, or portal, they might get wave, or they might get all 4. So lots of people have asked me why the 9 do repeat themselves, and that's the reason why, because each of these words are codes, and each of them is slightly different. Portal is a different energetic to gateway, which is a different energetic to wave, and a different energetic to light stream. So I'm going to break those down. Portal, I've already mentioned. Gateway, waves. So you'll see something moving like this, like the sea, like the sine wave. Doesn't look like a gateway, doesn't look like a portal, looks like an emanation of that which would come from a portal, which it is, but they're all the same thing, experienced slightly differently. And it's good for you to connect with all of these. It's good for you to connect with a portal, a gateway, a wave, and a light stream. So light stream is a wave would move like this or like this. It's more cyclical. A light stream is more of a stream, but it's more linear in its movement rather than a flow. So these are all different configurations of matrix material and matrix energy and plasma. That is how those substances work in these ways. This is how they move. And one cannot necessarily see them with instruments that we have on this planet. One sees them and feels them and experiences them through inner technology, which is your pineal gland, which works for the sight and the hearing. So this may come in through sound, because the pineal gland works with the physical ears as well as the eyes. So you may see, you may hear, and then of course there is a substance that's released, which I spoke about in part 1, which is very similar in molecular structure to DMT and to mind-altering substances like ayahuasca, and your body is flooded with this, and that is plasma. That's the plasmic light. It's the same thing as the light that is activated at the base of the spine when you go through a Kundalini experience or a Kundalini awakening. It's all the same thing. So portals, gateways, waves and light streams are words that are codes and hold codes within them, if you are receptive to receiving them. And you may be receptive in a different way to another individual. To one individual, you may say portals, gateways, waves and light streams, and they're instantly activated into a trance state, and they start channeling immediately themselves. It's very telepathic in the way that the code is given from one individual and caught by another. Others might see a literal portal, a literal gateway, a literal wave, a literal stream of light. Others might hear the words and think, I just don't get it. I'm feeling something, but I just don't get it. And that's okay too, because you're feeling it. It's not about the mind. The mind is only one part of it. It's about the heart, the feeling, but you don't reject the mind either. You work with all of them. And if the heart is stronger than the mind, or the mind is more focused than the heart, as long as you are coming into alignment with all of these aspects of yourself, it's a non-linear process, as I have said, and as the 9 repeatedly say. So you may hear from another that these portals, gateways, waves and light streams do not exist, and that they are simply nothing but the imaginings of the one who lives within a fictional utopian paradise. So let's break that down. So you might hear from some individuals that these portals, gateways, waves and light streams do not exist. They're nothing but the imaginings of one who lives within a fictional utopian paradise. So from that perspective, you are listening to someone talking about these portals and their experience of these portals and portal moments, gateways, waves and light streams, and your perspective is that it's just purely their imagination. They're just making it up in their head because they live within a fictional reality. They live within a reality that isn't real, and their mindset is that of utopia, of paradise. So that is a perspective that some may hold towards those who speak of these things. But what's interesting is the 9 go on to say, indeed these individuals are also correct from the perspective they hold, and thus the self-created reality they experience. So they're not incorrect. As I said in part 1, they're not incorrect when they say that these portals and gateways don't exist. They're complete imagination of an individual living in a fictional reality who thinks within a utopian, paradisical mindset. They're correct from their reality. From their individualized reality bubble, they are telling the truth and they are right. It isn't an incorrect belief system that they hold. It's a correct one from the reality they hold. And that belief system reinforces the seed of the belief system. Reality then reinforces the belief system, because through the plasmic energy within their pineal gland and in their fields, they're creating copies of their belief system, and that copy is becoming their reality. So you can't argue with those individuals, because there is no argument. They're correct. However, you step back into your reality, which is completely different. Now, they may argue with you because they aren't in an expanded enough state to be able to see more than one reality bubble. And that is a huge, huge key that the 9 are giving here in this transmission. And that is that there's more than one reality bubble. And to understand the vastness of reality, one needs to be able to see, or at least understand in some partial sense. One doesn't have to see the reality bubbles fully. One can't really fully get inside another individual's reality bubble when one is looking from the outside in, but one can move into an empathic state where one experiences quite a profound aspect of that reality bubble, enough to understand it. So the 9 are giving us a picture here of how reality is made up. And another way that one can say this is to use the word perspective. That's very powerful. These are different perspectives. But it's more than just a perspective. A perspective is, in the general term of the word, of the use of the word, a perspective is simply an opinion or a viewpoint. But it's more than that when one speaks of an individualized reality bubble. As I've said, that individualized reality bubble, when completely created by that individual through their belief structure and the reality that they live in accordance with that belief structure, they take the plasma, the solar plasmic energy, and work with that DMT, mind-altering substance that's similar to ayahuasca, that's in their body, that's in everyone's body. And they work with these unseen substances as if they were material that creates a copy. It's like a cosmic photocopier. And they copy that structure that is their belief system and the actions taken from the belief system. And they create a reality match that they then experience. That reality match that they then experience feeds back to them. And what it does is reinforce their belief structure. So their life reinforces that they're correct. This brings us to a whole other issue, and I have been asked this by people. Does that mean then that the reality we're creating, if we do believe in these portals and we do experience these portals and these waves and these rainbow waves and these DNA activations, if we are believing that and we're creating a reality that matches that, does it mean it's not a real reality because we've just created it with this cosmic photocopier and it's no more real than the individual who doesn't believe in the portals? And the answer to that is yes and no. On one level, you are creating your own reality through that belief system and that ayahuasca substance and the plasma, and making a photocopy, and you're allowing your reality to reinforce your belief system. So from that perspective, it's not a real reality, it's a created one that's been created by you. However, when one moves into a situation where your individualized reality bubble is very similar or the same as, and nothing is exactly the same, but is very similar to another individual and another individual and many, many, many individuals, that then creates a huge radiation or reverberation of energy. And when that reaches critical mass, that creates a global reality. So the question is, does it really matter whether you're experiencing a reality you created that didn't exist in the first place or not? And that's an unanswered philosophical question. What the 9 would say there is, what is important here is what you are creating, because you can create anything. There's no such thing as a fixed reality that's right. You can say to yourself, oh, well, I've just created a reality for myself out of my own belief system, and it's not real, because there is no real. There's only the fabric of creation, which is given to you when you understand all this as a blank slate for you to create. And what we're doing with Ascension is we are reaching the critical mass, and we are choosing what to create. The interesting thing about all of this is we already made the choice before we incarnated. Thousands and thousands, if not millions and billions of years ago. That connects us into the Atlanteans and the Lemurians and all of the crystalline memory that they preserved and projected forward into this incarnation. So we're connected to our past very intrinsically, because the decision to reach critical mass around the 2012 end of the Mayan calendar timeline was made billions of years ago from that perspective. But the conundrum that I've just presented, the answer is it doesn't matter, because there is no real reality. There is no fixed reality. There is only reality fabric, reality substance, which is moulding clay. And it's yours to do what you want with. So yes, it's true that someone may have a very distorted belief system that is completely out of sync with anything else, and they may create a reality bubble for themselves, and their reality may confirm to them that their distorted belief system is correct. And it is correct from their point of view. However, when you look at the larger community, one then moves into polarity and judgment. And polarity would show you that there are aligned global polarities that you move your individualized reality bubble creation timeline with, and there are other realities that are extremely distorted that sit outside of that. And then there is judgment, which is given without the judgment the way that we experience it. It's not judgment in the way our justice system works on this planet. It's judgment as in a higher judgment, which is very much a case of allowing an individual to learn by their mistakes, as long as their individualized reality bubble timeline creation does not encroach onto others and infiltrate them and hijack them and affect their reality. That is outside of the law of one, which is the law that binds all reality. The service to self individuals on this planet and on other planets too, and in other dimensions, are doing that, and they've chosen to do that. So they've moved outside of the law of one, even though they still work within a framework that does have rules. However, there is another perspective to that, and that is that in order to fully understand polarity, there must be polarized frequencies that one can see and make a judgment about. So from that point of view, there is, I won't say an allowance or a leniency, because it's not allowance or leniency from the perspective of judgment, but it is a catalyst, if you will. That's probably the best word to explain it. And catalysts are often something that are required or needed for a specific reason. So that's going deeper into the whole sort of service to self energy field, and as I said, that which I am analysing right now are the codes behind the words within the transmission. So this is what you would move into in your own awareness and knowing and memory and realization and epiphany when you hear these transmissions from the nine or read the books from the nine. You move away and you then open up these deeper layers behind the transmission, behind the channeling. And that's what happens after you've received the transmission, either through video form or through me speaking now or in books. What I'm doing here in this analysis is going down into these layers. And as I said, every single transmission that the nine bring forward is an infinite fractal in itself. So I could actually talk to you every single day for the rest of my life about this one transmission. And I would be making videos morning, noon and night, speaking about the layers behind this one transmission, because every single download package is a monad. Little monads, as in the transmissions that are uploaded to YouTube, or larger monads in the channel books. And monads are infinite, they're infinite structures. So, as I said, I could sit here for the rest of my life making videos about this one transmission, doing nothing else, and I would have enough material to make videos forever and ever and ever. I'm not going to do that, obviously. But what I'm trying to get at here is you are given the monad when you receive the transmission. You take that within you, even if you don't understand it on a logical or processing level. And that monad opens up within you and gives you all of those layers. I'm doing an analysis here because this one is specifically multi-layered and is very, very important for our time now and for all portals. So this isn't just about the 11/11 or the winter solstice. This is all portals. Yes, this was specific to this time because different energies create different things that occur within us. Another reason why I'm doing this is there's so much information out there right now about the portals, about these gateways and these time periods, and I have seen information that is given and is aligned and correct, but is given from a more linear perspective, or perhaps just the sort of first presentation without that layer behind. And all of these portals are multi-dimensional portals with multi-dimensional energy, and therefore there has to be multi-dimensional perspective to understand them. So one can either find, I don't know, 20 different teachers who are all teaching in a linear sense about the portals, all coming from a different perspective and all contradicting one another. Listen to all 20 and then you get a nice rounded picture of all the different perspectives. But you're only seeing them through those 20 people. Or you can move into the energy yourself and allow that multidimensionality to flow. And what I do, what the nine have taught me to do is to try my best to present the codes of this monad in the most accurate way I can. And this particular monad is so multidimensional, which is why I'm going deeper and deeper and deeper into it, and the videos take time because you are moving into deeper and deeper and deeper concepts. So while I'm staying with the main template of this transmission, I am looking at the energies behind that, because everything's tied up together. And when we're talking about solar plasmic light codes that are coming in at the time of these portals in this culmination or energy spike sense, it's important to know how the solar plasmic light codes can be utilised. We're utilising them all the time, but as I've said, service to self individuals are utilising them in a completely different way. So I've explained somewhat of what they are doing, and is it conscious within them? Well, those within the sort of at the top of the pyramid, if you will, or rather those that sit behind the pyramidical structure, they do understand this to a point. They understand this, they understand the law of one, they understand the positive polarization, and they welcome the Starseed awakening from that perspective. And then there's another aspect within that pyramidical structure, but it's one that holds less expansion, that does not welcome the Starseed awakening. So you've got different perspectives there. Those that do welcome the Starseed awakening are coming from a neutral standpoint within the negative polarization, but they still understand the positive polarization as well. There's a lot to be said there, really, about how that works. And it's quite helpful to understand the different perspectives and the different emotional mindsets within that structure. As I said, we could talk forever about that, but it is founded on a distorted, individualized reality bubble that spreads into this critical mass point. When I say critical mass point, it's been at a critical mass point in the past enough. It's never been fully critical mass. It's been at a critical mass point enough to create this inverted matrix only when the general population, their reality bubbles are hijacked. That's the feeding off and the siphoning off of their energy. So their critical mass is only reached through the hijacking of the general population, and then that feeds the reality bubble that they're trying to create. Within a service to others vibration, there is no siphoning off or feeding off of other individuals' energy. There is a radiation of one's own energy as a collective. And we have reached critical mass. It's a completely different type of critical mass, because it's a critical mass that's enough to create change on its own, as in nature itself responds to that critical mass. And that doesn't happen in a service to self structure, because it can't, because it's a distorted reality bubble. And the service to others, positive polarized reality bubble that the Starseeds hold, is in alignment with reality itself. That is why it's perceived as a fictional utopian paradise from those who are on the outside looking in. Because it is. It is a utopian paradise. That's the thing. The actual energy itself, the actual presentation of that reality, which is an accumulation of an infinite number of reality bubbles creating that, is utopia, and it is paradise. It's not fictional because it exists and it's real, but it's fictional from their point of view. But it is a utopia and it is paradise. So they're correct from several perspectives. So I guess what the 9 are showing us here, one of the things they're showing us is, don't waste your energy by arguing with other people who don't see the portals and don't believe in them, because they're right from their point of view. So let them be right. Just make sure you stay in your reality bubble where you experience the utopia and the paradise and create it. So indeed, these individuals are also correct from the perspective they hold, and thus the self-created reality they experience. So the next paragraph goes on, so whilst we address our communications through this transmission to all, there are the very small minority who receive this message in its intended form, who do not experience the portals at this time. So let's just break that bit down. Whilst we address our communication through this transmission to all. So the 9 are saying everyone is addressed through this transmission. Every single person on the planet and beyond. The 9 are therefore everybody. There are the very small minority who receive this message in its intended form, who do not experience the portals at this time. So what they're saying is the majority of people who receive this message, receive this transmission in its intended form, which is as a codex, as a monad, to assist you with your plasmic light creation, the majority do experience the portals. There is a very small minority of individuals who receive this message, meaning they've seen this video or they saw this video. The 9 might be speaking about the message coming in from other sources and not just this video, actually. No, they're talking about this transmission. So whilst we address our communication through this transmission to all, so yes, they are talking about this video that I'm analysing now, called Crystalline, Samhain, 1111 Stargate, November 11th, 2019. They're talking about that actual video. So what they're saying here is a very small minority are watching this video, receiving the message in its intended form, which is to give the plasma codes in order for you to create your plasma creation, who do not experience the portals at this time. So some individuals will have watched this video and have not experienced the portals or the energy at all. So in another way of looking at this, the majority who've watched the video do, but there are those who do not. But then they go on to say, however, our words and energetics, spoken and delivered through our conduit Magenta Pixie, are seed points into your own expansion, and the majority of you shall experience these portals. So that kind of just sums up what I've been saying already in this particular analysis. The words and energetics spoken and delivered through me, Magenta Pixie, because they're coming from the 9, they're coming from the solar plasmic codex monad itself, are seed points. So they're little seeds that get taken into you and create expansion. And that is the same energy of the portal. You don't have to have watched this video to experience the portal, because there are others talking about this, and there are others who are experiencing this energy who are not talking about it, and there are others who are experiencing this energy who don't even know it's a portal, because it's raining down upon everyone. But the majority of individuals who watch the video shall experience the portal and receive these seed points. So again, the 9 here is speaking about how the transmissions are coded monads, activation codes. You remember in part 1 I spoke about information particles. Well, that's what the transmission is. It's an information particle, and it delivers to you this framework, this template. That's all it is. It's a template. And then you go away, and the epiphanies that occur are the layers behind the template, and that can occur through multiple sources in your life. Doesn't have to be through my videos. It can be other people's videos, books, television programs, artwork, music, walking down the beach, talking to other people, dreams. The energy of that portal and the plasma light is multiple in its presentation, coming in from a myriad of sources. So I'll finish this transmission, it was a bit of a transmission, this analysis here, which is part 2, and I will continue with more videos and go through the rest of the transmission. So thank you very much for listening, and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye.
In this transmission from the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of 9, I, Magenta Pixie, bring forward information specific to utilising the rose gold flame as antidote to 5G, EMFs, chemicals, chemtrails, and similar. The presented template utilises the Schumann resonance, and the technique is alchemical unification. In this book, the 9 discuss synchronicity, discernment skills, and understanding of discordance and disharmony within truth and lightworker communities. They present a workable model of expression, assisting the spiritual explorer in creating a necessary toolkit. This allows the individual to construct a shield, bringing safety, harmony, expansion, and cohesive sovereignty into their own personal reality and their matrix field. I am pleased to present my new short book, The Black Box Program and the Rose Gold Flame as Antidote.